when I got up to my placement, that was difficult. And I felt quite alone.
I think the worst thing actually was my frustration with VSO.
You arrive here and everything is new and exciting, and then everything that was new and exciting becomes really annoying, and then you reach a level where perhaps everything plateaus.
When I first arrived at my placement, I felt distraught because nobody was expecting me. And I didn't know where to go, I didn't know when to go, and I didn't know why I was here.
All of the information that we sort of gathered, both from the training courses and from books that we read in preparation for coming out to work in Uganda, sort of portrayed it as a very safe place to work and live in, that there was very little civil unrest, and certainly a very safe place for women to be working alone in. And we were really, really surprised just on our first journey from the airport to see how many guards were sitting outside shops, outside schools, outside compounds, inside compounds, holding guns. And these are not small guns, they're big rifles.
One time I was actually hog-tied, robbed, and a lot of things were gotten from me, like my personal belongings and everything. At first, it was a traumatic incident when we were robbed. It was August 19, early morning, and I told to myself that I need to go back, to the Philippines, because I cannot stand what they've done to me.
I was really up country, and there were not a lot of VSOs or Westerners around me, and I think that I had a good level of isolation, and that was a little bit hard to bear.
Sometimes there are also drunk people on the stairwell, and they would sometimes, hit you with something, with bottles and something like that. But as long as you know how to run, then it's all right. Actually, they cannot chase you because they're too drunk to get up.
I really hate people staring. I don't think I can ever get used to that, even though people now know me quite well in the town. At first I found it a little bit threatening, but in fact I realised it's just curiosity.
My boss wasn't coming in full time every day, so he'll come in for a few hours. So whenever he would come, I had a list of 20 questions to ask him, and he would literally run away whenever he saw me, because he was like, oh God, you're making me do so much work. And he was not used to that pace of work.
It's entirely different to the work culture I'm used to back home. People, at least in my experience, don't appear to work as hard. There seems to be a lack of motivation, and when you're here and you're new and you want to really get involved, that can be quite a challenge.
For me, in relationship to children and the sort of extreme levels of poverty, both nutritionally, housing, socially and educationally, that children are living in. And it's sort of, instead of becoming easier to deal with, it sort of builds up, and you sort of sink further into it and think. Lots and lots of questions. We have many discussions about how can the developed world really, really help places in Africa, different countries in Africa, not just Uganda, and in India and lots of other developing countries, in a way that is really, really going to be sustainable.
I don't have electricity there also, but I have a paraffin lamp. I used to light up that lamp in the evening. Then I just sit like 15 minutes or half an hour, just take some rest as I used to use. So I take some rest a bit, maybe I take some cup of chai, some tea. Then I start cooking. So I need like 1 hour to cook. Then I used to take my dinner. Then I usually go to the bed around 9:30, maximum 10 o'clock in the evening. The place where I used to sleep is really very quiet, very silent, unless some leopards or lions are roaring outside.
when I arrived at my placement, there were so many obstacles, and it was quite overwhelming, a lot of different obstacles. And so what I learned from my placement is that the obstacle may be there, but inside, if you have the strength to overcome it, that's what really counts.
Things have improved a lot. I think because VSO have got used to me and I've got used to VSO, and also because I now have a better approach at sorting out problems. I tried to do it the UK way and it didn't work.
But I would also say that I've probably learned an awful lot more than they have at this point as well. It's been a really positive experience. We have our ups and we have our downs.
I've accepted that I'm a small cog in the grand scheme of things, so I'm not going to make big changes like I had initially hoped. And if I can make just a small change, then great.
4 months into my placement, I contacted my programme manager in VSO Kampala and said, I don't think this is going to work and I want to go home. But she contacted me and said, I will come and see you and we will talk about it. So from that time, things have happened, they've improved, and the longer I stay now, the better it gets. And I wouldn't dream of going home until it's my time to go home.
So when I first arrived to Nigeria, my first placement, I was very, very excited. And I remember BSO said, like, there's this cycle where the first 3 months everything is exciting and new and you're gonna love it. And then there's a little bit of, you go down, but then that down is gonna go down, it's gonna pass. And it's about 2 months and then you go up again. So exactly as BSO described, it happened.